Today we are going to talk about Representative Dogan's marijuana bill. That's HJR 30.
Am I free to go?
I want my lawyer now.
I want a lawyer right now.
Mr. Nolan, it's for you.
My name is Patrick Nolan. I'm an attorney licensed in the state of Missouri. This is Pat Talks Law.
Welcome back. My name is Patrick Nolan. I'm an attorney licensed in the state of Missouri. This is Pat Talks Law. Today we are going to talk about Representative Dogan's marijuana bill. That's HJR 30. You know, there are a lot of good things to discuss with this bill. And there's one point that I don't like, but the bill is still subject to amendment, and that point might be fixed. Hopefully it won't get nerfed by the legislature in the process. So before we get into this, let's talk a little bit about Shamed Dogan. He's in his fourth and final term in the House of Representatives. He has served as chair of the Special Committee Criminal Justice. You know, he has done a lot of work on criminal justice reform with a pro-constitution and pro-accountability point of view. He has been one of the leaders in marijuana reform. You know, he was actually very concerned with and fought for Jeff Mizanski, who had been sentenced to life for the third of a series of nonviolent marijuana felonies. During Dogan's first term in the first year in the House, Governor Nixon commuted Mizanski's sentence. So, and I think that shows this man has a pedigree that goes with the bill. And there are a number of stands that he's taken. House floor debate in 2016. So Representative Dogan has taken a lot of positions supporting the legalization of marijuana, either as medical marijuana or legalizing marijuana generally. Now, I have to tell you first, as a point that we need to discuss, there is no perfect path to resolve these things. It's going to take time. And the process that we're doing, the phased in, medical marijuana, then a couple of years later, we're looking at legalization or decriminalization, depending on how you want to phrase that. Marijuana is still illegal federally. And as long as our leaders in Washington continue to break their promises, it will probably remain illegal federally. There's a lot of money in those lobbies to keep marijuana illegal. So let's talk a little bit about what HJR 30 does. Okay. It erases and replaces the current text of Amendment 14. Okay, that was created by the Ballot Initiative Amendment 2 in 2018. You might remember that. That also corresponds with the founding of this channel. It will continue to allow medical marijuana recommendations from physicians, but it will remove the state fees and other regulations associated with the current system, including the 1-year requirement for renewing medical marijuana certifications. And that's kind of a big thing. You're renewing your certification every single year. And there are a lot of people that have commented that they're paid for it, but there wasn't any legal medical marijuana available. Even though we have the letter from Fraker that says that any marijuana in the possession of a medical marijuana person that's under the limits is legal. There are a lot of law enforcement agencies and prosecutors that have disagreed with that. And you can kind of understand why they might disagree with that. It leaves that really wide open to abuse. It would require testing, labeling, and consumer protection regulation. It removes the penalties for marijuana possession and use, and there is no limit on what an individual may possess or grow. It would eliminate the controversial licensing provisions associated with the current program and allow any business license holder in the state to grow, process, and sell marijuana, and additionally prohibit discriminatory zoning practices. It would remove marijuana from Missouri's Controlled Substances Act, release all marijuana-only offenders from prison, and expunge all marijuana-related nonviolent offenses, and prohibit state law enforcement from assisting federal law enforcement in marijuana investigations. It would tax medical marijuana at 4% and recreational marijuana at 12%, sending the funds to Missouri veterans, infrastructure projects, and drug treatment programs. Now, these are all good points. With that in mind, I'm going to tell you the one main point that I have that I don't like with Representative Dogan's bill is that it eliminates the right to use medical marijuana from the Missouri Constitution. The Missouri Constitution is unique in that the right to use medical marijuana is the only right to use a medicine or a drug like that. We don't have a right to OxyContin. We don't have a right to naproxen. We don't have a right to Motrin. We don't have a right to drink alcohol. A right is an affirmative thing. If the state wants to take a right from you, they have to make strict scrutiny. If the state wants to limit your ability to drink alcohol, they don't have to meet the same level of scrutiny they do to take away your right to firearms, or now in Missouri, your right to use medical marijuana. So that's a very important thing that should be in there, I think. And where that plays a role is in family court, in juvenile court. For the people who are on probation or parole, one of the requirements is to not break any laws, federal, state, local. Well, you're using medical marijuana is technically violating a federal law, so you're in violation of federal law. That poses a problem. However, if you have a right to use medical marijuana under state law, then, and you are in a state court proceeding, I think that the state right is going to trump. Now, let me rephrase that. Not that the state right is going to trump, the state right should trump. So you're violating a federal law. That's something that has to be removed. But you can't have that debate until and unless the right to use medical marijuana is retained in the state constitution. Now, in 2016, there was a floor debate, and Representative Dogan opposed a requirement that a grower have $500,000 in assets. That kind of restriction on trade makes no sense. So, yeah, he's definitely been a friend to marijuana and marijuana users over the years. And hopefully, we'll reach out and maybe we'll get a chance to talk to him about his bill and what he thinks it's going to do. So what he wants to do is leave the medical marijuana program in place, scrap the text, and some of the other issues. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch has had a comment, and this is one of the things I'm looking at. And to quote them, though Dogan, in his proposal, leaves in place a medical marijuana program, he seeks to completely scrap the text of the 2018 constitutional amendment authorizing the program, leaving no mention of the business applicant scoring process and license caps that have generated controversy. The licensing process drew complaints that the state had unfairly limited competition in the fledgling marijuana marketplace, leading to higher prices, slower rollout, and limited minority participation in the program. You know what? That's true, and Dogan's proposal is going to leave us with a licensing system that is no more stringent than licensing any other business in the state of Missouri, which would be a good thing. So if the legislature puts this on the ballot, the legislature is going to have some say in it. Right now, the state legislature has no say. And frankly, we have this because they failed to act. They failed to act in the past, which is why the ballot measure passed. The legislature can clearly see that the writing is on the wall. Missouri is going to have decriminalized or legalized recreational marijuana on some level. What that is going to look like is either going to be a ballot measure proposed by somebody or the measure proposed by the legislature. It will be one of those programs. Which one, we don't know. But if the legislature is not involved, they're not going to get to complain about it afterwards. And they can't fix it. So out of the proposals that I've heard, and there are several that are starting to meander, New Approach Missouri, the people who brought you our current medical marijuana scheme, are working on a recreational scheme, which should ensure that our marijuana cartels retain their power. But Dogan's is the one that I like the most. I think that it addresses some of the very serious issues with the criminality of the system and the problems with the system. And I think that it proposes the best path forward for Missouri. So, and that may change. That may change. There might be one that comes forward that, I like even better. Maybe a ballot proposal just says, Article 1, Section 14, marijuana, Paragraph 1, marijuana in all of its forms, the plant cannabis in all of its forms shall be legal to cultivate, produce, manufacture, use and manufactured substances without limitation in the state of Missouri, and it shall be available for sale, personal use or consumption in the state of Missouri without regulation. Paragraph 2, anybody convicted of marijuana-related offense in the past 50 years shall have that conviction expunged. Anybody currently incarcerated only on a marijuana-related offense shall be released, their conviction expunged. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. Of course, we can't get that simple with it. It's law. You got to write things with 87 words when you really only needed one word. So that's where we're at. I think that Dogan's bill is the one that looks the best. Now, I am going to ask that you like, subscribe. We are going to do some more. We're going to be talking a little bit more about some of the other things coming up. At some point, I think I'm going to see if I can get Representative Dogan on the channel to discuss his bill. I haven't reached out yet, but I think we're going to try. So thank you very much, and we will be talking to you again soon.